This is the last one of the partial bodices we made. I made 5 of them. This is the 5th one. And here you can see on the left there's the picture I found in the internet. I thought that looked nice and I was intrigued by that structure. How would you make something like that? And on the right you can see the end result of my attempt, and it's, well, it's not perfect, not even good enough, but at least now I know how to make this, and if I want to use this in an actual dress, I know how to do it, and I also know what went wrong with this one. Here are the pattern pieces, which are of course what you start with. This is the upper part of a basic dress pattern, and I have enlarged the neckline a bit and then drawn the shape of that green part to this pattern, and then I copied that shape from this. It's here only to get the right shape, so you need to draw it in the actual pattern so you can see where it should go. So here's the final pattern on the left, and on the right is the copy of that shape, and it goes to the back. As you can see, the upper part of it, the pieces 1, 2, 3, 4, they go to the back piece. And I think, yeah, the shoulder seam is there in the middle of the piece 5. So it's a good idea. These are the folds, and it's a good idea to number them, because then if you cut more than one of that strip at a time, you won't get them mixed up. But of course it's best if you just cut them one by one and glue them to the paper you're using for the actual pattern for this piece. And here you can see the pattern halfway through. You just start with the first piece, glue it on the paper, then make the fold, and then glue the second piece right next to the first one, and so on. And the shape of the pattern, it gets a bit weird. So you can see here where I started, it started going curving to the left, and I realized that I had too narrow pattern piece, so I needed to glue some more paper to it to get big enough piece to make this pattern. So the first piece should have been sort of the cut edge pointing to the upper right, and then it maybe would have fit to that paper, but I'm not sure. Just if you try to make this, be prepared to glue extra paper into the pattern where needed. It's so hard to imagine the final piece or final shape of this pattern piece. So just add paper as needed. Here you can see the final pattern spread on the green fabric I was using for that folded part. And as you can see, it's basically the same shape, just elongated a lot. And after you cut the piece from the fabric, then you just use the pattern to make the folds and stitch the edges so the folds stay the way you put them, because in this case I was going to stitch this piece on top of the bodice, so I wasn't making the front from several pieces. The front was one piece, but then this was to be stitched on top. Here you can see that in place. And if you look at the left picture, the waistline, you can see that this folded part, it goes down longer than it should. So there was something wrong. The folding, well, when I first made it, it looked fine, but then when I put this on this bodice, you can see it's not as neat as it was in the original, and this piece it's too long, and those folds, they are sort of getting twisted. So this was really hard to make, and you can see that the gray fabric underneath, it's not smooth. So this was the time where I realized that this is going badly wrong. But well, I really had no choice but to go forward and see what happens. And here you can see how it goes on the right. You can see how it goes to the back piece. So it starts from center back and goes over the shoulder and to the center front. And this is the folded piece stitched in place, and then the edges, I was covering them with this gray band. This is something you use in furniture, I think. The teacher said that this is used in furniture, but I just found this in the storage at school, and I thought it looked okay with that gray fabric, so I decided to use this and just stitch it on both edges to cover the edge of that green part. And here is the final result from front and back, and it's not good. It's pulling from so many places. It should be sort of neat and flat, but it isn't. I'm not at all happy about this, but like I said, I know what went wrong, and the main part that went wrong is that I should have made the front piece out of 3 pieces. So there should be 2 gray pieces, and the folded part, there should be seams where the gray band is going. I think that would solve much of the problems. And of course those folds, they should be flatter, and I'm not quite sure why it went this bad. Maybe just the positioning of this green part isn't quite correct. I tried to fold the fabric so that I was using the pattern underneath to get the same shape, but I suppose I didn't. But this is how it ended up being, and like I said, if I want to use this design later, I know how it should be done, and hopefully the next version will be better. And then there are some other things. This is another January project, a small one. Actually, I made this in December. This is the prototype. The teacher had something like this that was it was bought from somewhere, and she just asked me to figure out how to make one of them. So this is the piece I made just to figure out the structure and how to make a finished product. So the material isn't the best possible, but well, it works. It will stay as a model piece at the school, so if they are making this later, there's this one that you can show this is how it's supposed to be, and then other people can use the patterns and make more of these. But the reason I was asked to do this was that somebody wanted 3 of these made. So here are the 3 I made in January, and this one from front, back, and then folded in three parts. The idea is that this is a toiletries bag, and you can hang it on the wall from the metal piece there in the up there in the band that's been sewn there, and then when you pack it away, you just fold it like it's there on the right, and it takes less space. And here are all 3 of those from the front. So I really liked making a series, 3 of the same product, because even if it's a small series, it makes it faster per one piece if you make one stage for all 3 and then the next stage for all 3 and so on, so that you don't need to think each stage for each item. You just think it once, make it 3 times. Next step, think once, make 3 times. And maybe it doesn't make it really much faster, but a bit faster. And this is the last project for January. This is a prototype. Those are cheap fabrics, just to figure out how the structure works, because there's this long zipper going there curved in the front, and this design it's a mix of 2 different designs, because I found a pattern for a skirt that had that zipper there curved on the front, and then I found pictures of a patchwork skirt which was approximately what you can see here, not quite, but I took the idea from that one. And I have the leather skirt, the final skirt was planned as leather skirt, so I made that and it's finished, but I don't have pictures of it right now, so I'm going to make separate video about this, because it was complicated and it really warrants a separate video. But for a prototype, this is actually quite good. I started this with the thought that I want to make the prototype so good that I can use the skirt, and I think that looks quite usable. Not the prettiest thing you can imagine, but the structure is fine and the design is nice. The fabric's not so much, but it's usable, and we'll see if I end up using this next summer. Although I'm sure the leather skirts will have much more use than this one.